Oh, sorry, wrong button. Yeah, that'll do. How many mistakes did you just spot in me making that coffee? List them in the comments below. Let us know how many mistakes you picked up on. And in this video, I just want to point out all of the different things that I see amateur baristas doing in cafes and at home. And I want to talk you through how to fix them and how to be a better barista. All right, so firstly, let's just go through the process and work out what I really did wrong. So you would have seen at the start, the handles are sitting on the drip tray. We actually want to keep them up in the machine. They need to be nice and hot, so we're not getting variances of temperature of the group heads and portafilters between coffees. So make sure your portafilters are up in your machine. Once we knock out that puck, we've got to have a nice, clean, dry basket. We don't want to be rinsing heads. We don't want to be knocking out without cleaning our portafilters, so that needs to be nice and clean and dry. Now, I went straight back into my portafilter. That means I'm not measuring my dose. I want to make sure that I get a consistent recipe. There's a few steps to this process that I totally skipped the recipe. So I've got my scales there, I've got my dosing put on there. Yes, you can use grind by weight grinders. This is just another solution that we use. Now this is managing my dose. This is making sure I basically have the same amount of coffee in my basket every single time. When I transfer, I want good distribution. I did nothing to help the distribution of the coffee. Basically means the water's going to hit the bed of coffee and it's just going to find its fastest way through any gap, and that's called channeling. The other thing I did, I banged my spouts on the bench. That is a no-go. We don't want to do that. It's just a dead giveaway that you don't understand, I guess, the value of the equipment. Plus, these spouts, especially if they've got this O-ring concept, the spouts can come off, but also the coffee can get on the end and end up in the cup. So at no point other than maybe resting your handle on the bench for a second would we want to see anyone banging on the bench, even on the rubber. Now I also tamped with the spouts on the bench and I used a hand tamp. That hand tamp is going to be inconsistent, so I definitely want to be using my consistent 14 kilos of pressure on that. But I still want to get this reasonably distributed better. I'll do that with my hand, bit of movement. I'll use the edge of the bench, never on the spouts, edge of the bench. I'm going to add an NCD tool there to get a good even distribution of coffee. Auto tamp, nice and clean. I also didn't purge. So between every coffee, you want to run some water out of that head. That ensures that there's a good access to the right temperature water right at the head, and that cleans the basket, that cleans the shower screen, so the water can clearly flow through a nice clean screen. So when it lands on the puck, you're good to go. I'm going to gently put that up. I don't want to be too hard because I don't want to create more channels. Now I also accidentally pressed the button, then turned it off, then started again. You can't do that. It's just, once you've started the flow, there's a pressurized environment. As soon as you stop the button, it breaks the pressure and you get the release. But if you go again, you're getting a very different extraction and it's not going to work. Now, I'm also going to trust my machine is going to give me the same amount of water. So I've programmed this machine to give me the ratio that I want of liquid in the cup. Before, I just eyeballed it, and sure, you can get as into coffee as you want and learn how to eyeball coffee, but if you want consistency from cup to cup, you need to make sure that you're either turning that off by weighing out your yield and getting an even extraction and the same amount of yield each time, or you need to trust your machine, get a good machine that you can program and make sure you're getting that even, the right amount of yield every single time. So now I've got my coffee. That's going to be nice and rich. So that whole process is far more repeatable. The mistakes that amateurs make them not repeatable, and it shows up on the shot times. We see it when people are skipping distribution, when they're not weighing their dose, when they're not tamping evenly. If you are hand tamping, maybe it's just having a good repeatable technique. So amateurs, people that don't spend a lot of time on the machine, it can take a long time to learn these tricks. It's definitely the thing that we see people not having consistency from cup to cup. So as you practice, as you get better and you learn from other people, you realize how important it is to have good tools and good techniques. So next thing, the milk. The milk is the most obvious to so many people, not just the baristas behind the scene. Everyone's going to taste that coffee if it's made poorly, so you can't get away with bad technique because we are going to drink the coffee. Milk. The customers are watching. Little things. Nice, clean steam on. That's always clean. There's no milk stuck on the side of it. That's been cleaned many times, but it also needs to be purged. All of this extra water, it's going to shoot me in the legs, but all of that condensation needs to go out. I don't want to add that to the cup, so let's get rid of that. You'll also notice I've now got a blue cloth and a brown cloth. Brown cloth for my bench, blue cloth for my steam wand. Two separate cloths, so we're not cross-contaminating. Making sure that's the dirty one for the bench. I can use that up here, but it's never on my steam wand. Color-coded as well. Notice that I've got a nice clean jug there, no residue of any old milk. A simple couple $100 jug rinser is the answer to that solution. If you don't have a jug rinser, get one installed, or at least be using the sink. Using fresh, clean jugs to not add that extra milk back in. The other thing I did was I went straight on top of that old reheated milk. If we are trying to make the best coffee ever and you want to be as good as the baristas you look up to, don't reheat milk. Just learn how to use less milk to start with. Finish the milk that's in the cup, in the jug, into the cup, and make sure you're not wasting milk, not tipping it down the sink, but we do want to make sure that we're working on our milk levels so we get the right amount of milk at the end of the day. So we would purge and we would come back up. We use good technique, locking in here so you can hear that we're not adding air too much. Also managing that air. I'm not hanging my jugs. Not the biggest fan of hanging jugs unless you are a really, really good barista and you know what you're doing. So I'm going to make sure that I'm adding the right amount of air to this milk. Turn that off and that gets cleaned straight away and purged. Now, keep in mind, we're always thinking about presentation, so we don't want to leave milk stains on the bench, mess. And we want to spin. We've got to get that, all of the milk integrated, the froth and the thick and thin milks throughout the jug integrated before we pour. Good technique. It's really obvious when you're pouring off the bench that you haven't learned good latte art technique. The customers can see it. I don't recommend pouring off the bench like I did. I recommend taking a little bit of time with your coffee to make sure you get the best outcome. That's making sure that you are doing good techniques like mixing. You can learn to do latte art from that point. We're also going to do good workflow things like we'll just rinse that jug straight away. We don't want that sitting on the bench making a mess. Now, I made a cappuccino in my last one, and this is a real pet peeve for me, so I've kept it in there. Don't chocolate your cappuccinos, if you're in Australia, while they're on the plate. You can put it on there, you can put it on your shot and pour it through. I just want a nice little bit, I just want to be able to see a bit of coffee movement through the cup. The coffee drinker, whoever's drinking this, should be able to see that you've put a lot of love and care into it. If you're covering that in chocolate, you're showing them that you might not have done a very good job of your latte art and you're trying to cover that up. So, which is often the case with new people on coffee. They will often try to hide that. But I want to keep that chocolate off the bench. I want to think about presentation and make sure that customer's getting that cup of coffee in the best way that we can possibly present that to them. We'll turn that around so they can see that you've got a bit of chocolate on there for a little bit of flavor, but it's not overwhelming the drink. It's well presented. I'm now clean, ready to go, heads are up in the machine. I can quickly get my dose on and my workflow starts again. Every single coffee is clean. Every single area is spot on. And that is the biggest differences I see between people starting off, but mate, I've seen people make coffee for so long, so many years, and they tell me, I've been making coffee for years, I don't need training. And unfortunately, they're the hardest to train because they don't realize that they might be making some of these amateur mistakes, and everyone learns. It's definitely, this is the place to find out that we don't want to be knocking the side of the portafilter. We do need to stop doing that. I did miss that, and that was a good one that I should have put in there. We don't want to be knocking the side of the portafilter after we've tamped, because we've already created that compacted bed and then we're knocking it. So little tips, these are the things that are going to help fast track you as a barista, and it's going to help you just have a better understanding of how to make coffee, so you end up with a better tasting coffee. You end up with a better texture of mouthfeel of the milk. All of these things aren't just for show, they are producing a better cup of coffee and a better experience for those working with you. They also will improve the quality of the coffee that's going to the customers, should help the cafes grow, and that's what we're all about. The content that we produce, the cafe partners we work with. If you want to work directly with Artisti coffee roasters, go to our website, reach out. You can connect with myself and the team about implementing our processes and procedures in your cafe. And this is where we see cafes get a lot faster. They get a lot more consistent, and we see them move their baristas from amateur to professional much faster. So let us know in the comments all the things I did wrong. If you've got more feedback, let us know. If there's more to it than I've added here, I'd love to hear it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more content about growing cafes and being a better barista, and I will see you next time. Cheers guys, bye.